haven't uploaded in a month, so let's do a book review that will possibly tank my channel views. Clown In A Cornfield, released in 2020. Written by Adam Caesar, the novel follows Quinn Maybrook, a teenage girl who is a senior in high school, has recently moved to the small factory town of Kettle Springs, Missouri from Philadelphia after the tragic death of her mother, Samantha. Her father, Glenn, has been hired as a new town physician in the hopes of that this will allow the two of them to heal, but Quinn is not looking forward to moving. Kettle Springs has suffered financially since the closing of the Bay Pen corn syrup factory and its subsequent burning due to arson by a local boy named Cole Hill. As a result, the town is at odds with itself, and strict lines are drawn between the largely conservative adults and the teens, who are more interested in having fun and getting views on their YouTube channel. Quinn manages to befriend Cole and his group of friends, including Queen Bee Janet, the ponytail-wearing Ronnie, her boyfriend Matt, and Tucker, just Tucker, after an incident during her first day in class. Their science teacher, Mr. Vern, sends them all to study hall, and they get to talking about their group and the town's eerie history. During the study hall, Quinn is invited to attend the town's annual Founders' Day celebration, despite Mr. Vern banning them from the event. She is also invited to the subsequent party planned by Janet as taking place in the nearby cornfield. However, things take a turn for the worse when the town's mascot, Friendo the Clown, begins to kill the town's wayward youth one by one. In terms of plot, this is actually all I'll say right now, because I highly encourage you to read Clown In A Cornfield. It's a really solid young adult novel, very good slasher in the middle half of it, and it's an easy read. It's only like $15 on Amazon, as well as its sequels. So go read it. It's a lot of fun. But come back to this video because there will be spoilers. So here, I'll even wait. Alright, you're back? Alright, cool. Let's review the book. When the movie trailer for the adaptation for the book, that's a weird way of putting it, released a week ago as of recording this. And it excited me and intrigued me because I never heard of this book or the series in general. But it piqued my interest because it's a slasher, young, like teen novel similar to Fear Street, which I really love. I love those movies. I haven't read the books yet. I'm really excited for Prom Queen in a weird tangent. I don't know if I'll ever review it when it comes out, but I saw that it was based on a book, and I bought it after reading a sample as well as its two sequels, and I gotta say, the first book is pretty dope. Starting with the positives, I think it does a very good job establishing the characters and Kettle Springs as a whole. It takes a solid 7 chapters, is that 7? I think that's 7, for the slasher element to come into play, but it did really bother me since I like the interactions in the main cast of teens, The book mainly follows Quinn, since she's the new girl in town, but the prologue we get of the main group of friends in Cole, Matt, Tucker, Ginger, Janet, and Ronnie is really good. It has a sort of I know what you did last summer feel to it. Won't get too specific with the details since it's like an 8-page prologue, but in the prologue we read about the death of Victoria, Cole's little sister, and it's a pretty gnarly death that sets the stage for the main story. It also plays really well to the group of killers' motives, is that a word, and I like it a lot. But even after the prologue, it's fun to just get to know Quinn and her dad. There's a lot of hints towards why they moved to Kettle Springs, and I like the reasoning, as it's relatable and makes a lot of sense. The reasoning being her dad wanting a fresh start after his wife Samantha overdosed. It's not a gut-wrenching revelation, but it plays a very important part in their dynamic, and there's obvious tension in a couple scenes, but by the end, this is probably the healthiest father-daughter relationship in the book, and I love it a lot. I also like the introduction of Russ, Quinn's neighbor that sets up his character. I also like the introduction of Russ, Quinn's neighbor that walks her to school on her first day. Their conversation together is really well written and sets up its character perfectly. I really like the reintroduction of the friend group too, post 1 year time skip, because I should mention it takes place a year later after the incident. And from this point on is where I really started to get invested in Cole, specifically as a character. He's such a well-written, jaded, cool guy character that stands up for what's right, and we see that very clearly with his confrontation with Mr. Vern in class. I also enjoy his friendship with Quinn a lot. It's very easy to just have them be the typical new girl, cool guy relationship that becomes a couple by the end stereotype that so many slasher movies do. But it sticks to platonic for a pretty big reason, and I love it. Jan is another character I enjoyed, and her back and forth from mean girl to nice girl is pretty funny in some spots, and she definitely gets the worst of it in terms of major character deaths. She gets an arrow through the shoulder, had to pull it out and let Rustin Quinn apply a tourniquet, only to suddenly get her head chopped off with a buzzsaw by a friend of the clown. It's not only a shocking death, but it kicks off one of the best sections of the book outside of the final battle, where a squad of friendos appear from the cornfield. It's one of the many great scenes in the novel that I truly hope gets done justice in the movie. And Ginger's death is also another really eerie one that honestly shocked me while reading it. Quinn finds her stumbling out of the cornfield, and just as she assumes the worst, she and Janet witnesses Friendo shooting a crossbow bolt into her eye. It's a very sudden but very well written kill scene that perfectly sets the tone for the rest of the book. Another that I enjoyed quite a bit was Tucker's, Cole's right-hand man, and the first major team death that properly kicks off the slasher side of the book, even though Mayor Harlan's character dies in that book too. But hey, I don't even think he's in the movie, so is it worth mentioning him? It's a great homage to Scream in many ways. I really like the brutality of it. Poor guy gets stabbed in the belly button, thrown through a table, and his throat slit. It's honestly a pretty scary scene that I absolutely love. Moving on from that though, I really love the group of killers and the motive in general. There are a total of 9 killers throughout the book, 3 of them being unnamed, and the other 6 are Mr. Vern, Ronnie, Matt, Trudy, Mr. Murray, and Sheriff Dunn, with the ringleader being Arthur Miller, Cole's dad. Dun dun dun. But I absolutely love the fact that there are a lot of killers, because it all plays into the overall theme of the book, which is the conservative old generation citizens fighting back against the evil youth that became a plague due to their lack of giving a shit about the town's legacy or respecting the town as a whole. There's a lot of hints throughout the book that the town doesn't like the modern teenagers, with the very earliest scene being in the diner where the older folk just give dirty looks to Quinn as her father is using the restroom. They also aren't subtle with this either, as in the same chapter, Dunn prevents Ronnie and Matt, along with a couple of other teens, from coming into the diner and nonchalantly holding his holster as they turn and walk the other way. The way Dunn is also written as he talks to Glenn Quinn is so off-putting when you first read it. He talks to Glenn like he talked to any other adult, but to Quinn, he kind of babies her, calling her sweetheart and not really having a conversation lasting more than 30 seconds. I like how this also reflected in his Matt and Ronnie's reveal. He shows her attention, but as the book describes it, looks like he would give less of a shit and only responds with yeah and go on. The way Dunn's reveal is also really cool. I love how Cole recognizes that the shirt is fresh with a blood stain slowly forming, and Dunn is just covered in sweat despite the shirt being clean. It's little stuff like that that makes a character smart and not just a dumbass. I will say though, I kind of caught him as a killer when he made the big speech as the town's meeting of wanting to deputize some townspeople, and Harlan gets kicked out and killed by Friendo, but it doesn't really change how I feel about his reveal. I also think Ronnie and Matt have the most Ghostface-esque reveal. It caught me off guard with Dunn knocks out Quinn and Cole just sees his 2 friends mock him and taunt him with a shotgun. And the way Quinn takes him out is really creative and shows her strengths perfectly. Ronnie gets the tamest death out of the 2, where she simply gets a cleaver to the head, but my god, Matt gets the most deserving death out of everyone in this novel. Pre-reveal, I fucking hated Matt and Ronnie. They were the most annoying characters out of the main group of kids, for the sake of being horny loudmouths, and while I like Ronnie post-reveal, Matt could continue to be annoying and a creep, considering he gropes Quinn's ass as he's carrying her back to the barn. Or at least that's how the book describes it. That's how I'm interpreting it, though. That's how the book describes it. But man, oh man, he gets his comeuppance when Quinn runs him over and his face gets smashed in between the bumper of the truck and the front bumper of his car. It's a very brutal death for a shitty and annoying character that I really enjoyed. And the last half of the novel is honestly such a great final act set piece for a, like, say, slasher movie. Won't get too specific because this is like a multi-chapter set piece, but Dunn reveals to Cole in the car that he, along with other townspeople, wanted to restore the Bay Pen corn syrup factory that was set on fire by Cole due to his family owning the factory, and it's implied that he wanted to off himself before coming to his senses, but never outright confirmed, which is weird, but I guess that's something the movie will probably, confirm. Dunn goes on a whole spiel about saying that the youth had no respect for the town, and he blames Cole along with his friends for ruining the town and provides the botched parade as a breaking point for him and the rest of the Friendo Alliance. It's a genuinely great motive that adds a cult element to it all, and after we learned that Arthur was the man behind everything, man behind the slaughter, fucking Finest Freddy's, warping my brain, blames Cole for Victoria's death and tells his own son that he was dead to him long before the event even took place. It's a real gut punch of a reveal that makes Arthur such a really great antagonist despite having very little focus in this book. The whole thing quickly turns dark, though, as Dunn and Mr. Murray forces Cole on a platform so they can stage his suicide by hanging all while handcuffed. Remember, this kid is like 17 years old, and Dunn is such a psycho in this section because he flat out tells Cole to take it like a man, and it's very unsettling until Quinn arrives in time to hold Arthur hostage. The shootout that occurs, which is a sentence I thought I'd never say in regards to a slasher novel, is an all-out war between old and new generations that I really love. Dunn accidentally injures Arthur in hopes of shooting Quinn, and that's mainly where his character stops being prominent in the novel until the epilogue. There's a great bit of tension where Cole falls off the platform and would have gotten his neck snapped if it weren't for the rope being tangled on Mr. Murray's feet that sends him over a little bit after, and the fall breaks his legs. One thing I will say that's kind of a negative is that Mr. Murray is too underdeveloped as a character for my liking to be one of the four big bads of this last bit. Would have definitely been better if it was someone like Mr. Verne, because he was an already established character that had a pretty decent motive. After Russ makes the big rescue with the truck and drives to where Cole's feet is on the hood to save him, he kills Mr. Murray with the shotgun, whereas Quinn kills Sheriff Dunn. Another minor negative I'll add is that there definitely should have been more Rust throughout the novel. He's only about 25% of the book, with his first scene being with Quinn. He reappears at the party, but disappears again until he saves Quinn and Jan after the initial massacre, and this is where his character is most prominent until chapter 20, where he sacrifices himself to kill two unnamed friendos with dynamite in the silo. And I don't know, I like if he was with the main group more, but at the same time I can see why he was absent, because his character was kind of required to be gone to the section where, in between where Dunn, Matt, and Ronnie get revealed, and then Matt and Ronnie get killed by Quinn, and then the whole big final battle in general. So it makes sense. His absence in the overall role in the story kind of prevents the kiss between him and Cole feel a little more climactic for me, but it's still a really great moment regardless. And to just make things 10 times more stressful, because the book wasn't already making me clench my ass enough while reading it, the teen trio encounter another friendo that is actually Glenn due to his subplot in the book revolving around being in a Saul-like situation where he's forced to repair Trudy's hand, and after she dies, he sneaks out using her friendo costume, which I have no idea why. The book doesn't really, properly detail it, but it's fine. The reason why it's stressful is that Quinn nearly shoots him before the rifle clicks, and they hug before he collapses from the stress, I think. The book doesn't really make that clear either. But either way, it's a sweet reconciliation moment that further cements them as the more wholesome father-daughter duo, other than the psychopathic dad with the moody teenager. What I like about this set piece, and the majority of the second half in general, is that it doesn't really pump the brakes until Dunn is dead. From Harlan's death to the Cornfield Massacre to Dunn's death, it never once stops to have the characters stand around, and it's constantly moving them from one set piece to the next. It also really helps that the first half really focuses on the teens and fleshes them out as characters. Well, fleshes a few of them out. The only characters that get really fleshed out are Cole, Janet, Quinn, Ronnie, Matt, and Tucker's the only one left out because he's the obvious first kill. It's fleshed out to a point where Harlan's death happens. It's a perfect, oh yeah, this is a horror novel moment, and it is just relentless terror until the moment with Quinn and Glenn. I'm really curious to see how the movie handles this part of the story as well as the opening, because it's going to have to make a newer audience love these characters in a shorter span of time than the book in order for the reveals and deaths to hit as hard. I also am curious to see how the second book handles Arthur's disappearance and just how much of a threat he might be to the teens. That made no sense. But overall, I really enjoyed Clown in a Cornfield. It's a really solid young adult story that mixes with the slasher subgenre. It has plenty of likable characters with tons of kills and a lot of mean spirit in the best way possible towards the final fight. I'm going to give Clown in a Cornfield a solid 9.5 out of 10. I don't really have a good rating system for books, so it's going to be the same movie review. Sorry. And that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you would like more book reviews, let me know. These are actually a lot of fun to do. I liked reading these books, and I can't wait to review the second one. So stick around. Maybe I'll review that. That's only if this does well, though. If not, I'll just review the movie and then compare that to the books. See ya!